are watching Fugitive Red Eye, and this is another Random Thoughts. This one is a follow-up to the previous episode. So, as with the previous episode, it's a lot more focused. In the last episode, I talked about things that everybody seems to hate, but I enjoy. Well, today I'll be talking about the opposite. Now, needless to say, this video is completely my opinion, so I understand that there's a lot of people that like these things that I'm going to be talking about, but frankly, this is my opinion, and if you don't like it, let me know. I mean, hell, you're entitled to your opinion as I'm entitled to mine. But these are things that people really love that I don't see any real reason for it. Now, I'm gonna apologize in advance. The gameplay that I've recorded so far for this, I do really bad. I guess I was having an off day on Halo, so... But without further ado, it's time to talk about some shit. So, first thing I'm going to talk about is what many people consider to be the greatest movie of all time, and that's Citizen Kane. Now, Citizen Kane, I don't absolutely hate, but it's not the worst movie, but the thing is it bored the shit out of me. I had to watch it for a film studies class, and it probably doesn't help that I watched it when I was very tired. But I literally fell asleep during this movie. It bored the shit out of me. And, to be fair, the concept for it was really good, but a lot of people say, oh, it's the best movie of all time. Well, I get that it was good for the 1930s, and I love Orson Welles, so, you know, I don't have anything against him. I love old movies. It has nothing to do with the fact that it's an old movie. I just don't particularly like the movie. I don't hate it by any stretch, so I guess this is kind of not, you know, keeping true with the title to an extent, but hey, you know, I'm probably going to get progressively more and more verbose with what I'm saying. Basically, I'm starting off with something that I don't necessarily hate, and then I'll move on to something I absolutely despise. At least, that's the idea, but again, these are unscripted and unstructured, so who knows? And, so, Citizen Kane, if you don't know, somehow, it's this movie about this guy named Charles Foster Kane. And in the first scene, he dies, and his last word is Rosebud. Now, one key thing that I think is very important is no one was in the room to hear him say Rosebud, and it wasn't recorded anywhere, as far as we know. So the main plot of the movie makes no sense. People want to find out why was his last word Rosebud. However, no one was in the room with him, so how the hell do they know his last word was Rosebud? By the way, this will contain spoilers for the movie, so if you haven't seen it, you may want to skip ahead, maybe a minute or two, maybe 3. I don't fucking know how long I'm going to talk about it. Probably like a minute. So then, basically, the whole movie, I like the concept. In fact, it has a very good concept. It's basically showing this guy how he became a bad person. It shows him his decline and how he became scum. How he started out as a nice guy and became scum. And basically, at the end of the movie, you find out Rosebud was the name of his sled he had as a child. As a kid, his parents gave him to these rich people. Basically, it symbolizes that his only true happiness was as a child. Now, I actually have grown to like the movie more than I originally did, just because, the more I think about it, the more I like the concept. The thing is with Citizen Kane, the whole concept of, you know, the moral of the story is childhood was the only time he was happy, and now he's miserable, and the fact that it shows him, you know, shows his decline, that hadn't really been done to that extent before, so I can see why a lot of people liked it. But at the same time, the plot moved along so slowly, and not a lot happened. To be fair, I watched it in high school, and my views have changed considerably since high school, so I might give it a rewatch to see if I do enjoy it, but I definitely think it gets overrated being called one of the greatest movies of all time, if not the greatest movie of all time. Now, another movie that people consider the greatest, this one I actually really hate, and a lot of people say this is the greatest movie ever, too. Gone with the Wind. Holy fuck, how does anyone like Gone with the Wind? I'm sorry if you like Gone with the Wind, but I don't see it. The movie is 3 hours long. It tries to make you sympathetic towards the South in the Civil War, which, to be fair, the North did treat them like shit after the war, but still, the movie itself is shit. But yeah, like I said, it tries to make you sympathetic towards the South in the Civil War, which in and of itself I didn't like. Then, you know, the main character is just this whiny bitch that only uses people for her own personal gain. Like, I don't think she cares about anyone other than herself. She just uses people. The only thing I like about the movie is Clark Gable, because I like him as an actor. But his character was the only character that had any charisma or was likable in any sense of the word. And the best part is the ending scene, which, again, spoilers, but at the final scene of the movie, she's married Clark Gable's character, right, and they've had a daughter. Well, they bought her a pony, and she fell and broke her neck and died. And Rhett Butler, that's the character played by Clark Gable, he's leaving, and he's like... And she runs up to him, she's like, "Oh, Rhett, what will I do?" And he's like, "Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn." By far the only good scene in the entire movie, because she finally gets what she deserves. Moving swiftly on, I'm going to talk about another thing that I don't hate. In fact, I actually enjoy it a lot, so it's contradictory to the title. But I think it's overrated, so that's why it's on this video. And that's Attack on Titan. No, I don't hate Attack on Titan. I enjoy it. It's a pretty decent anime. But the fan base has kind of killed it for me. It's just so overly hyped, and everyone acts like it's the best fucking anime ever, which it's really not. It's a decent show, and I plan to watch it if they make a second season, which I'm sure they will. It's popular enough that I'm sure it'll get a second season. It's a really good show, and I do recommend that you watch it. But I also recommend that you set your expectations properly, because if you give into the hype and expect it to be the best show ever, you might be disappointed. To be honest, I loved it when I watched it, and there wasn't a lot of hype when I first saw it coming out, so I had no bias against it. But at the same time, after the more and more I hear about it, the more and more sick of it I become. Once again, moving on again, onto another show that... is incredibly hyped up, and I don't like at all anymore, and that's The Walking Dead. I will say this. For the first 4 seasons, I loved the shit out of that show. But starting with Season 5, and possibly even a little bit in Season 4, the show has taken a serious downturn. Partially, I think, because that they switched the main writer, but the show itself has become nothing but formulaic. Basically, they introduce a character, then they'll kill off another character, introduce another character to replace them, then kill off another character, and so on, in this endless cycle of just, hey, there's a new guy, let's kill off a guy so that he fits in with the group. Hey, let's develop his character enough until he dies, of course, because everyone fucking dies except for Daryl and Rick so far as I've been able to tell. I mean, no, there's still a lot of characters that have lived, but those are the only 2 that I think aren't going to be killed off anytime soon, unless they already have, because I stopped watching the show. So if they have, my bad. I haven't watched the show in forever. I got so turned off by it. The start, when it started to bug me, was with that Hick Duke Nukem character. Yes, I called him a Hick Duke Nukem. His name's Abraham or something, but to me he's just Ginger Hick Duke Nukem. At least the way he looks. He doesn't act like Duke Nukem in the slightest. If he did, it might have made it more interesting to have a one-dimensional piece of shit character like Duke Nukem. That being said, I don't like him, and I didn't like Eugene, or whatever the hell his name was, the guy who claimed to have a cure. But, that whole... the show just... It killed off a lot of the great characters. There's gonna be some spoilers here, I think, because I have to rant about it a little bit. I loved Herschel as a character. Probably my favorite character, and then they fucking just kill him off. And fucking... So many good characters just get slaughtered in that show, and... It's just so hard to get attached to anyone anymore. Not to mention, I've kind of grown weary of zombies, because there's zombies in fucking everything now. But one thing I will say is when The Walking Dead first came out, I loved it, because the show, although it's set in a zombie apocalypse world, there was, you know, the zombies are just a plot point. They basically are just there to move the plot along. It's a very character-driven show, or at least it was. I don't think it is anymore, or if it... I mean, I guess it technically is, but you can't get attached to anyone because they keep dying. I think it suffers from what I think Super Dantastic would refer to as Shiki Syndrome, although I disagree because I love Shiki and I don't think it's that bad, but that's what I think Super Dantastic would call it, and that's the term I'm going to use here, Shiki Syndrome, because a lot of characters die off in Shiki. Anyway, yeah, I just don't like The Walking Dead anymore. It's become formulaic. I'm completely sick of zombies, so, you know, that doesn't have anything going for me. I don't really like anything that has zombies in it anymore, just because it's so played out. To be fair, I think the zombies trend is kind of dying out, and that might make me be okay with zombies again. And just like, speaking of Shiki, I know I mentioned it earlier, Shiki's not something I hate. I absolutely fucking love Shiki, and it unruined vampires for me. So something might come along and unruin zombies for me. There's still certain zombie things I like 28 Days Later and things like that, but that's irrelevant to this video. So another thing I really don't like, and I might get a little bit of flack for this, but I'm just telling you this now. Again, this is my opinion, and frankly, just hear me out on this. I really don't like Steven Universe. That show is so fucking dull. It's got the weirdest plot. None of the characters are likable. It just seems like SJW propaganda. What I mean by that is the show is praised all the time for being progressive and encouraging, you know, homosexuality and, like, fucking, overweight people and shit and, you know, whatever. Let me go over what I think on that. I'm gonna try not to be as biased as possible, but there's a limit, and let me just go over this real quick. So, I understand that, you know, everyone wants to feel represented, and everyone wants to be themselves, and etc., etc. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with people being themselves and wanting to be, you know, accepted for who they are. For instance, though, there's a lot of Steven Universe fans. This I actually haven't researched. I heard of this from a Nostalgia Critic video, I think. But he mentioned that there was in the Steven Universe fandom. No, it wasn't. It wasn't Nostalgia Critic. It was some other guy whose name escapes me. Saberspark. That's who it was. It was Saberspark. But in a Saberspark video, when he's like, "Our fandom's bad," he was talking about Steven Universe, and he mentioned that there was this one lady who drew a DeviantArt thing of some character from Steven Universe as a thin character, and this SJW got super pissed off because it's supposed to be a big and beautiful character. Here's the thing, I'm an overweight guy myself, and, you know, I'm all for people being confident with how they are. However, I don't think being overweight should be encouraged to the extent that it is. Yes, I think that, you know, there are people who it's out of their control. But at the same time, I think everyone should always be seeking improvement. You know, I mean, I myself wouldn't mind dropping 10, 20, 30, 50 pounds. You know, I'd be happy. But at the same time, you know, I get it. No one's perfect, and everyone has their flaws. Like I said, I'm a fat fuck myself, so I understand why people want to feel confident, and I'm all for that. And I'm all for having a diverse amount of characters. But there's a difference when it becomes pandering, and it's done as a gimmick. And much like how Ghostbusters really pushed the shit out of the whole woman gimmick, I think that Steven Universe pushes a few gimmicks. That being said, it's not the worst thing ever, but I'm just getting so sick of everyone talking about how amazing they think this show is. I don't think it's good. It's dull. It doesn't have a lot going for it. The animation is nothing special. It's just like every other animation out there now. But that's not everything. So, yeah, I don't like Steven Universe, and I understand there's a lot of people that do, and whatever, if you like it, that's fine. But another show I really don't like is, fucking My Little Pony. I don't know how bronies are a thing. I remember my friend, right when they were first starting up My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, tried to show me an episode. It was so dull, it was nothing but bad horse puns. And then you get those bronies that are like, oh, start with Season 4. No, fuck you. I am not going to watch that shit. I don't care if it picks up around Season 4. I've seen clips here and there because I had a brother that would watch that stupid shit. I don't think he does anymore. But, that shit is absolutely horrible, and I don't know why bronies are a thing. I've had a few friends that are bronies, so... But at the same time, I fucking hate it, and I think it's probably one of the worst fandoms there is out there. But yeah, I don't like either of those shows, and on to the next bit, I guess. I also really dislike Five Nights at Freddy's. It's a very pointless game. I'll give it credit where credit's due. It's an original concept for the most part. However, I do think it could have been done a lot better. Its quote-unquote lore is really just the creator canonizing anything that fans come up with because he's too lazy to come up with his own storyline. Not to mention they just keep making games and they're totally pulling a Friday the 13th, because, you know, they called the fourth one the final chapter or something like that, and they keep making them. Those games are not fun. Most of the time you can't even move around or do anything. The game's basically micromanagement simulator, from what I've seen. It's not scary either. It's nothing but jump scares. I understand some people enjoy it, and some people think it's scary because of the suspense leading up to the jump scares, but I'm just kind of sick of all these games following this cookie-cutter algorithm where they're all basically the same kind of game. I mean, a lot of survival horror games are just so similar there's no point in playing most of them. Which is a shame, because horror is one of my favorite genres, but the fact that it's like that just kind of pisses me off, that they're all the same. Now, obviously, there's a few exceptions to the rule, and I haven't played absolutely every survival horror game in existence, but I don't know how anyone can be such a fanboy of Five Nights at Freddy's like they tend to be. But, I don't know, there's just a lot of things overall that I think get overrated and overhyped. I don't know if I mentioned, I'm pretty sure I mentioned how I didn't like Citizen Kane already, or at least I didn't like it as much as everyone else did, and I sure as hell don't like Steven Universe as much as everyone else. There's just so many things that I think people overhype. Obviously, fan bases are diverse in what they enjoy. I think probably my least favorite fan base is the Five Nights at Freddy's fan base. No, actually my least favorite fan base is Bronies. But, The Walking Dead I don't like. I don't know. I feel like this video I've kind of rambled on a bit, but, this is just my thoughts on these things. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me, because these are popular things that I'm insulting, which I understand that if I get a few dislikes here and there, but at the same time, I really do think that, you know, a lot of these things get overhyped up, and this is all just my opinion. Of course, you're welcome to your own if you enjoy these things. Like I said, I enjoyed The Walking Dead for the first, like, 4 seasons, but, I don't know. There's a lot of things that I don't like that are really popular, and there's a lot of things that I do like that are really popular. For instance, I absolutely love Game of Thrones. It's a great show. But, you know, when something's good, it's good. To me, for something to be good, it needs to be entertaining, and that's really the only criteria I have for it. Now, obviously, there are a few exceptions, like, for instance, Howard the Duck is just such a sloppily put-together movie that you can't call it a good movie, per se, because the plot's all over the place. But it's so enjoyable, I can't exactly call it bad, either. If I were to pick a favorite so bad it's good movie, it would have to be Howard the Duck. It's just all over the place, and it's enjoyable. Whereas something like The Room, although the plot's all over the place, and it is somewhat enjoyable, The Room I can only really enjoy with a group of friends. I know this is going off on a tangent, but again, this is Random Thoughts, so I can kind of talk about whatever the hell I want, because Random Thoughts isn't a very structured series, in case you couldn't tell. I mean, none of my videos are that well structured, but still. Another thing I wanted to mention is, I don't know, I feel like a lot of things get overdone, especially the zombie genre. Now, to be fair, I'm a bit of a hypocrite with that. I think there's too many zombie fictions, and I'm sick of zombies, yet I'm okay with Godzilla to continue going and shit like that, because I love giant monster movies, so I'm a bit of a hypocrite with that. But again, these are just my opinions. And there are some zombie things I still enjoy. Like, I absolutely love Shaun of the Dead, but then again, it's a you know, a horror comedy, and I absolutely love, what's it called? 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later. Both very good zombie movies, and if you haven't seen them, I do recommend you do. But, I don't know, I feel like I'm kind of running out of things to say for this Random Thoughts, to be honest. Let me know what you guys think. Were you guys pissed off or offended by some of the shit I say? Obviously, don't take anything I've said out of context. If you enjoy these things, that's great. And if anything I said about Steven Universe somehow offends you, you need to understand I'm not trying to be political in any way. I just don't like the show. But that's just really my thoughts. I really do feel like a lot of things get overrated and underrated. For instance, I just barely got done watching the Pip episode of South Park, which for whatever reason, everyone hates that episode. I know it has nothing to do with the main show, but I do love it. And again, I don't think there's any such thing as a bad South Park episode. But anyway, this has been Fugitive Red Eye, and you guys have a spadoinkle day.